Hey gamers, today we're looking at Queen Games Amsterdam. Let's check it out. Setup is easy. First off, you're going to take all these little commodity tokens and then spread them out, one to each little warehouse there on the player board. You're going to have your little boat here, which will determine the player order. The person on top will go first, bottom will go last. Over here is your little delivery boat that will start in the dock, matching your color. You're also going to have your victory point counter right here at the 100. You're going to put out all of these little men and put them in the little warehouses as you see across the board. The only rule is that you can't have someone of the same color in that warehouse. For instance, yellow could not be listed on yellow's harbor. He has to be somewhere else, just away from his harbor. Also in the game, you can shuffle out these, deal out 3, put them on the side of the board. These just determine different areas of the warehouses there, which is what you'll score majority in at the end of the game, determining on the amount of players. It will let you know how many victory points you get, and it's basically the same for each place. The only difference is what those colors would be. And again, you just deal 3 out, put them on the side of the board just to remind the other players. Now, if you want to play with an extra module, you'll shuffle these little tiles here, deal 3 out to every person. They give goals in the game and tells you, determine on how many players are in the game, what victory points you earn if that's scored. There is a lot of iconography here, but they have this addendum here, which is very simple and tells you what all of the iconography in the game means. You won't use this that much as I thought I would. I didn't use it that much. Over in this area, you're going to put the cubes up here. You can put them out by their color or just put them all out here. It doesn't really matter. You're going to put the dice, roll them, and put them in their assigned little areas. You're going to shuffle the market tiles here. Market tiles come with A, B, and C, especially if you have the extra module. If you want to shuffle them in, you'll put the A's on top, B's, and C's. You want a total of 12, as there are rounds in the game. Put them there and then flip over the first one. That will be the market action for this round. Also, you'll have each of these cards shuffled out here and put in their respective areas. And also up here, even though I only have 1 of each, this is where windmills and broken little steering wheels go. Your player board will look like this. Everyone has their shields on their area. They have a 100-point tracker. They'll have their little whatever this is here, which is really awesome, this little rondel in the game. And then they'll have this little coin here. This is the Kickstarter edition, so it's a metal coin. Cardboard coins are in the regular version of the game. For anyone picking up items on the board, they can place them here on their cargo ship and have an unlimited supply. And for people picking up passengers who need to get them to certain harbors, you can put them in one of the 2 spaces there and deliver them to the harbor of their color. There is a little warehouse space here where a player can optionally reserve 1 cube per round if they want to. The game also comes with these little player A's that give you what's going to happen after 1, 2. Basically, this is just setup. And then 3 is all the actions you can do. Some of the actions you do multiple times, infinity. Some of them you can only do once. And then 4 is basically cleanup. They even have in-game scoring here, which is really cool. In addition to the base setup, there are some extra modules that you can put in the game if you want to. One is the inspector, which is done. This is placed out by the last player. What they'll do is they'll just put them out in any one of these buildings to start. And what that means is when the inspector's on that building, you only have to pay 1 cube less than what's listed here. So for instance, this would only need 2 gray cubes. Once this is utilized, the inspector will move to any other building next to it, okay, that's connected to it, and we'll get the discount from there. For the bailiff here, the second to the last player will place them out, usually around one of these harbor spaces. Doesn't matter which one, but as they go to that harbor space, the first person to deliver goods there will get a +2 victory points to whatever they're delivering. After that, he will go to the next connected harbor, whichever one it is, that player will get to choose to continue that special ability. Then finally is the black marketer, which is Stefan Feld himself. The first player will put him here in the black market, and whenever they take advantage of selling things to the black market, instead of having the choice of either or, they will get both of them if they're giving that black market item that Stefan Feld is on. After that, you can move the black marketer 1 space in any direction you want that has an unoccupied good. Before you play the game, a little bit more setup has to be taken. First off, you're going to grab cards according to the number of players. Depends on how many cards you grab. Let's say I grab 2 of each here, and then we do a round robin, schoolyard pick'em. Each person will pick 1 of those cards to place at the bottom of their player board. After that, each player can pick any of these 2 dice here and assign those dice to their little wheel by that number. So for instance, if I chose the brown, I would take 1 brown and put on the number 1. If I was to take the orange 6, I would take 6 orange cubes, big cubes, count for 5, and I'd place it right here on the 6. And that's just the setup there. Round 1 starts with you doing the same thing again. The cards, again, will tell you, hey, depending on which round it is, odd number of rounds, even number of rounds, will tell you how many from each deck you'll need to bring out for people to draft. So you'll do it once for setup and then again starting the first round. After that, you'll also go and pick out, draft some die again. You can re-roll the die and have the players pick any one. And players can pick the same die as someone else. That doesn't matter. And what they're going to do is they're going to take those die and assign them to their wheel on that space. Once all the players have taken their card and taken their second batch of cubes, then you're ready to start that first round. You're going to move this, shift it down 1 here, and exit out any cubes, and then use them, put them in your player area, and use the cubes that you have. As you see, as the rounds go on, you can start building up and getting more and more cubes. So for instance, for the next round, if I was to grab, let's say that one was a 1 still, I'd put it over here. And then the next round I'd have 3 cubes to deal with. And as you see, it's basically kind of a machine where you're just kind of building cubes onto your little wheelhouse here to get additional actions. Now with your cubes, you can do several different things. And again, it tells you have infinity actions and then of course one-time action. So let's look at some of the things you can do. For a one-time action, you can pay the amount of cubes according to the building size here, and then grab that token. And once you grab that token, you have 2 choices. You can put it on the barge under your player board, or you can sell it to the black market. When you sell something to the black market, you get a cube of any color or 2 coins, whatever you want. Once an item has been sold to the black market, no more items of that same type may be sold to the black market. So once this is done 9 times, the black market is full. Another option you can do is moving your sell barge. By paying 1 cube of any color, you can move it 1 space across the board. And then if you have any to deliver, let's say instead of playing it to the back market, I had it in my area, you can deliver it to these miscellaneous spots where anything can go. Or when I look at the title here, I say, oh, that's a bag, it's up here. So I'd have to move my ship up here, and you'd claim the top spot there, thereby getting those victory points. Another option you can do is go to a harbor and pick up 1 of the 2 people that are listed there. Remember, you can only hold 2 on each sail barge, and if you can get this person, for instance, this is a blue guy, if I can get him all the way over to this blue harbor right over here, I deliver him, but not over there. I deliver him over here to this side. The first one gets 9 victory points, the second one 7, the next one 5, and then everyone else afterwards will only get 3 points. You'll also gain a coin every time you pick up a passage. Another one-time action you can take on your turn is moving up this river. Moving up this river, the person who's furthest up will always go first. The person, if it's a tie, the person on top of that stack will go first. And as you see throughout the game, there are ways to get victory points, especially if you can make it to the end. Now, determining on the amount of cubes you pay, doesn't have to be the same color, can be any type of cube, will allow you that many spaces to move up the river. Another one-time action would be to take advantage of the market. The market gives you different abilities each round. Like for instance, if I play 3 coins, I'll get 4 victory points, and I get to move up my the river 1 space. All right, and they do different things. Like for instance, the next one would give me 3 coins for 5 victory points, and so on and so forth. So very self-explanatory. That will change at the end of every round. I should also mention in the first few rounds, you'll get bonus points for making deliveries of your goods into those warehouses. Of course, the first round is the biggest one and the hardest one to do. You'll get 7 additional victory points if making a delivery in the first round, all the way down to the 7th where you at least get 1 additional victory point. Now, when it moves to the 8th through the 12th round, things get a little crazy because your wheel only has 6 spots on it. That means you're not going to be, when you get to round 8, you're not going to be able to put anything here and get to those cubes. So what it says is, hey, for every 6 you roll, now it changes to a 1. So if this was my roll, I'd flip all of my 6s to 1s. And you do the same thing in the next round to any 5s or 6s that are rolled. You do the next round for any 4 to 6s. This allows you to make sure that you can utilize all the cubes in your area without having any outstanding cubes. And of course, probably a big, huge turn on your last round to go. Because of course, in the 12th round, everything is a 1. Another action you can take in the game is to fulfill one of these cards by playing the precise number and color of cubes. Once you've paid the price, like for instance, let's say I paid 3 grays, I'd move it on top of my board. And that way, now I can take it into action. For instance, for this one says, once per turn, I can pay 1 gray cube and get 1 coin and 1 victory point. Now, once I've used this, you can tap it to the side to show it's tapped, but they gave you these little windmill tokens. You basically just put a windmill token on it to show it's been used for that round. The other one here is in-game points. This one here mentions in-game points. And the other one, the other type of symbol you'll have is infinity, which means, hey, every time I make a delivery, I'm going to gain a plus victory point no matter where I'm at, which is really good. You'll be having to draft these cards each round, and if you ever have more cards in your area than what you can hold, so for instance, let's say I hold 5, I haven't done anything. Well, you have to draft a card every round. Well, if I've drafted another card and there's no place for it, then I'm going to get one of these little broken wheel tokens. And you don't want those, because at the end of the game, the more of these you accumulate, the more victory points you'll be losing. So you're basically forced to make sure to fulfill 1, 2, or a lot of these cards and start pushing them up in the air, not only to get you some of these bonuses here, or in-game points or whatnot, special abilities, but to make sure you don't get any negative victory points by garnering these tokens. Another way to get these tokens were if it was your next turn and you had nothing in the 1 slot, nothing there was nothing, you get no actions in. Then in that case, you would get another one of these tokens. And again, the more you get, the more negative numbers you will have. At the end of every round, you're going to do some cleanup. You're going to select a new market tile from the stack there. You're going to move the round tracker down 1 space, and then you're going to re-roll the die and start again. Start again with some drafting, depending on what turn it is. An odd or even turn determines the number of cards that come out. Drafting the dice again and picking the colors associated with the number there and putting them on your little wheelhouse there, and then you're ready to start the game over and over again. After 12 rounds, the game ends, and then it goes to in-game scoring. Of course, here's all those negative points you'll have to take away. Of course, any in-game cards you will score at that time too. You're also going to score the maximum amount of connected shields you have. For example, every time I take one of these goods, I'm going to replace it with one of my shields if I had it, and the most connected houses I have. So let's say at the end of the game, I only had 4. Now I may have had 3 over here, 2 over there, and everywhere else, but let's say the maximum I had was 4 that were connected by a little bridge there. Then I would get this number times 3. Okay, so in this case it'd be 12 extra points at the end of the game. Or if I had 2 more, that would give me 18 points at the end of the game. So it kind of forces you to get some big area control here for the maximum amount of money. And then another thing you won't forget is any leftover market tiles that you have left on your barge, or any people you have left on your barge, or any coin you have left over, or any type of cubes you have. You don't get rid of your cubes at the end of the last round. You can keep them all. For each 2 you deliver of any of these type, you'll gain 1 victory point. And of course, if you're playing with this expansion, you'll also add up these victory points as well. Each player, if they fulfilled their goals there, and whoever has the most victory points wins. Final thoughts. What do I think about the game? Well, one thing I forgot to mention, using a coin will let you travel 2 spaces down the river. And that's something that will be important in the game when you're trying to make these deliveries. Anyway, so what do I think about it? Well, this is the retheme of Macau, a game that I've been wanting to play for years, but it's super expensive. When this came out, I thought the price of Macau would drop. It did not. Macau kept its value. Why did I think that? Because the other thing that came out, the other game that came out with this Kickstarter was Hamburg, a retheme of Bruges, a game that I love and I have. Bruges dropped so much in value. Like, it used to be a $200 game, and now I see that with the expansion for 75 bucks. Saw several people selling away, so I was like, ooh, maybe someone will drop the price of Macau. No, no one did. No one did the entire time. So I don't know why. So I had to go ahead and get Amsterdam, but I was happy getting it. I don't like the artwork here. I like the artwork in the original game better, but the game is basically the same as Macau from what I hear, with a few extra things. I don't mind playing with the extra modules. In fact, I'll play with them all the time. I think they make a difference in the game. Overall, it is not Stefan Feld's best. It's not his worst either. I do like how the wheelhouse works. I call it feeding the wheel, because you're always picking this precise die. You're not always picking the number 6 all the time. So you have these big cubes, because you're not going to see those cubes for a very long time. So you want to get some balance and make sure that you want to make sure you're getting turns every round, but you also want some balance too. It's like, man, I'll get the 4 or the 3. That way, in just a few more rounds, I can see those cubes faster and make decisions. I love how it's making you get some of those cards. You're drafting cards every round, making sure you put as many of those cards at the top, and you want to not only to avoid getting negative points, but to get those special abilities or the in-game points that can score you too. Everything about the game is fun. My board game group really enjoyed this. I want to say they enjoyed it more than I did. This may be looking at one of their top games here. Now, it could be Coles of the New. I don't know. I think I'm above that, so I'm going to say this is a pretty good game. If you're a Stefan Feld fan, you've always wanted to get Macau, yes, you should get Amsterdam. But as Stefan Feld goes, I think this is more maybe middle of the pack, maybe upper echelon, above average game of his. So I do enjoy it. Stay in my collection. It's Queen Games. Hurrah for them. All right, folks, that's it. See you next time. Until then, game on!